Welcome to the channel The Coins Explorer, and today we're diving into a coin so rare, so valuable, that it could literally turn your spare change into a fortune worth millions. Imagine reaching into an old drawer, pulling out what looks like an ordinary dime, and discovering that single 10-cent piece could be valued at $88 million. Yes, you heard that right. $88 million for a 1987 D dime that might be hiding in your possession right now. And before you dismiss this as impossible, let me tell you that the 1987 D dime we're talking about isn't just any dime. It's a numismatic phenomenon that has collectors, investors, and everyday people frantically searching through their coin jars, piggy banks, and old collections because this particular coin represents one of the most extraordinary finds in modern American coinage history. The 1987 D dime, minted in Denver as indicated by that small D mint mark located just above the date on the obverse side, was produced during a year when the United States Mint struck hundreds of millions of dimes for regular circulation. And while most of these coins are worth exactly 10 cents, a microscopic percentage of them carry errors, varieties, and characteristics so rare that they become the holy grail for serious collectors worldwide. And here's where it gets absolutely insane. Because the highest valued specimen of this 1987 D dime has been estimated at a staggering $88 million, making it one of the most valuable modern coins ever discovered. Now, I know what you're thinking. How can a dime from 1987, a year that's not even that long ago, be worth more than most lottery jackpots, more than luxury mansions, more than fleets of supercars? Well, stick with me because I'm about to reveal exactly what makes this coin so incredibly special. But before we get into those details, I want you to know that after we finish with this 1987 D dime, we have 4 more absolutely shocking coins coming up, including one that'll make your jaw drop. Even further, coins that could be sitting in your collection right now, coins that represent life-changing money hiding in plain sight. So make sure you watch until the very end because what's coming will blow your mind. And you definitely don't want to miss discovering whether you might be sitting on a fortune without even knowing it. The story of the 1987 D dime begins in Denver, Colorado, at one of the United States Mint's most productive facilities, where during the mid-1980s, billions of coins were being struck to meet the demands of America's growing economy, and the dime, featuring the iconic portrait of President Franklin D. Roosevelt on the obverse and the torch, olive branch, and oak branch design on the reverse, was among the most commonly produced denominations. But here's where things get fascinating, because even in a production run of hundreds of millions of coins, the potential for error exists. And when those errors occur at the mint level, especially dramatic ones, they create coins that are exponentially more valuable than their face value. The 1987 D dime, that commands that $88 million valuation, isn't valuable because of its age or because of precious metal content, because modern dimes are composed of a copper-nickel clad composition with absolutely no silver content, unlike their pre-1965 predecessors, but rather because of extremely rare minting errors and varieties that occurred during production. We're talking about coins with full or partial missing clad layers, dramatic double dies, off-center strikes, wrong planchet errors where the dime design was struck on a quarter or cent planchet, and even transitional errors that represent mistakes during die changeovers or metal composition experiments. One of the most sought-after error types for the 1987 D dime is the missing clad layer error, where the outer copper-nickel layer failed to properly bond to the inner copper core during the minting process, resulting in a coin that appears silver-white on one or both sides and weighs noticeably less than a standard dime. These errors are incredibly rare because the mint's quality control processes are designed to catch such defects before coins enter circulation, but occasionally, just occasionally, one slips through, and when it does, it becomes an instant collector's dream. Another variety that drives collectors absolutely wild is the 1987 D double die dime, where the design elements appear doubled due to a misalignment during the hubbing process, when the die was created, and depending on the severity and location of the doubling. These coins can range from mildly interesting to absolutely spectacular. Imagine seeing Roosevelt's portrait with doubled inscriptions, doubled date numerals, or doubled design elements on the reverse, all visible to the naked eye or under slight magnification, creating a coin that screams rarity and value to anyone who knows what to look for. Then, there are the OFF center strikes, where the blank planchet wasn't properly centered between the dies during striking, resulting in a coin where part of the design is missing and part of the blank planchet edge is visible. The more dramatic the off-center percentage, while still retaining the date and mint mark visibility, the more valuable the coin becomes, with some specimens showing 20%, 30%, or even 50% off-center strikes that are absolutely breathtaking to behold. But wait, there's more, because some 1987 D dimes have been discovered with wrong planchet errors, where the dime die was accidentally struck onto a planchet intended for a different denomination. Imagine a dime design struck on a cent planchet, creating a tiny copper coin with Roosevelt's portrait, or struck on a quarter planchet, creating a larger than normal dime that weighs significantly more than standard. These errors are so rare that when they appear at auction, bidding wars erupt among elite collectors who know they might never see such a specimen again in their lifetime. The auction history of premium 1987 D dimes reads like a thriller novel, with stories of ordinary people making extraordinary discoveries that changed their lives forever. There's the tale of a woman in Ohio who inherited her grandfather's coin collection and discovered a 1987 D dime with a dramatic missing clad layer error that she initially thought was just a damaged coin, but after having it professionally authenticated and graded by PCGS or NGC, the leading third-party grading services, she discovered it was genuine and extremely rare, eventually selling it at auction for a sum that allowed her to pay off her mortgage and retire early. Then, there's the collector in Texas who purchased a large lot of unsearched dimes from a bank and spent weeks carefully examining each coin under magnification, and his persistence paid off when he found not one, but two error 1987 D dimes in the same batch, one with dramatic doubling and another with an off-center strike, both of which he sold to specialized error coin dealers for prices that funded his children's college educations. These aren't just stories. These are real-life examples of how a single coin, one tiny piece of metal measuring just 17.91 millimeters in diameter, can represent life-changing wealth. The key to finding these treasures is knowing exactly what to look for, and that means examining your 1987 D dimes carefully under good lighting or magnification, checking the weight if you have a precise scale since error coins often weigh differently than standard specimens, looking for any doubling in the lettering or design elements, checking for unusual coloration that might indicate a missing clad layer, and examining the rim and edge for any signs of off-center striking or planchet irregularities. And here's something crucial that most people don't realize. Even if your 1987 D dime appears completely normal, if it's in pristine uncirculated condition with no signs of wear, strong strikes, and original mint luster, it could still be worth significantly more than face value to collectors who specialize in assembling complete date and mint mark sets in top grades. The grading of these coins is absolutely critical to their value, because the difference between a coin graded MS65 versus MS68 or MS70 can mean thousands or even millions of dollars in value difference, and that's why serious collectors always submit their best specimens to professional grading services like PCGS, NGC, or Annex, where teams of expert numismatists examine every microscopic detail under high-powered magnification, assign an official grade based on strict standards, and encapsulate the coin in a tamper-evident holder with a certification label that guarantees its authenticity and condition. This third-party grading is what gives buyers confidence when they're considering investing serious money into a rare coin, because they know the grade is objective and the coin is genuine. Now, I mentioned earlier that we have more incredible coins coming up after this one, and I wasn't exaggerating, because the coins we're about to explore include specimens that will absolutely shock you with their values, their rarity, and their backstories. We're talking about coins from different years and mints, each with their own unique characteristics and auction records that prove the world of rare coins is filled with opportunity for those who know where to look and what to search for. So don't go anywhere, because what's coming next will keep you on the edge of your seat. The 1987 D dime also holds a special place in numismatic history because it represents the era when error coin collecting was truly beginning to explode in popularity among mainstream collectors, not just elite specialists. During the 1980s and 1990s, publications like Coin World and Numismatic News began featuring more articles about error coins, helping educate collectors about what to look for and how to identify genuine errors versus post-mint damage. And this increased awareness created a surge in demand for error coins that continues to this day, driving prices higher and higher as more collectors enter the market competing for the same limited supply of error specimens. The mintage figures for 1987 D dimes show that the Denver Mint produced over 700 million dimes that year for regular circulation, which means that statistically, even if only a tiny fraction of 1% contained significant errors, there could still be thousands of valuable error coins out there waiting to be discovered. Some are sitting in old collections assembled decades ago by people who didn't realize what they had. Some are mixed into bulk lots of unsearched coins at estate sales and coin shows, and some, yes some, are still circulating in everyday commerce, passed from hand to hand, spent and respent, completely unrecognized for the treasures they truly are. This is why veteran coin collectors and error specialists make it a habit to always check their change, to always examine dimes carefully before spending them, and to always keep their eyes open for anything unusual, because they understand that lightning can strike at any moment, that the next coin they receive in change at the grocery store or gas station could be the one that changes everything. And if you think that sounds far-fetched, remember that some of the most valuable coin finds in history have come from the most ordinary circumstances, from people who weren't even looking for rare coins, but just happened to notice something different about a coin in their possession. The emotional impact of discovering a truly rare and valuable coin cannot be overstated. Imagine the rush of adrenaline when you first realize that the coin you're holding might be special. The excitement of researching it online and finding similar specimens that sold for huge amounts, the nervous anticipation as you carefully package it to send to a grading service, the agonizing wait for the results to come back, and then the absolute euphoria when you receive confirmation that yes, your coin is genuine, yes, it's rare, and yes, it's worth a fortune. These moments become stories that collectors tell for the rest of their lives, memories that never fade, turning points that divided their lives into before and after the discovery. And beyond the monetary value, there's something deeply satisfying about owning a piece of minting history, about possessing a tangible example of the imperfect human processes and mechanical systems that occasionally produce mistakes despite all the quality controls and safeguards in place. Each error coin is unique, a one-of-a-kind artifact that tells a story about what went wrong or differently during a specific moment in the minting process, making it far more interesting than a perfect coin struck exactly as intended. The 1987 D dime worth $88 million represents the absolute pinnacle of what's possible in modern era coin collecting, a combination of rarity, condition, and collector demand that creates value on a scale that seems almost impossible to believe. And yet it's real, it's documented, and somewhere out there. More examples might be waiting to be discovered by someone like you who takes the time to look carefully at their coins, who understands what makes certain specimens special, and who has the knowledge and resources to properly identify and authenticate potential treasures. So before you spend another dime, look at it, examine it, check for anything unusual, because you never know when ordinary pocket change might turn into extraordinary wealth. And if you thought this 1987 D dime was remarkable, wait until you hear about what's coming next. Next, the 1987 P dime. And if you thought the Denver Mint produced some absolutely incredible rarities, wait until you hear about what came out of Philadelphia that same year, because we're talking about a coin that has reached valuations of $57 million. Yes, $57 million for a dime that was minted in Philadelphia as indicated by the P mint mark. And what makes this particular coin so extraordinary is that it represents a completely different set of minting circumstances, different error types, and different historical significance that has collectors and investors searching through every 1987 P dime they can find, hoping to discover one of these life-changing treasures. The Philadelphia Mint, being the original and oldest mint facility in the United States, has a rich history dating back to 1792, and during 1987, this facility was producing massive quantities of dimes for circulation throughout the eastern United States and beyond, with production numbers reaching into the hundreds of millions of coins. And while the vast majority of these dimes are worth exactly 10 cents, a microscopic percentage of them carry errors and varieties so dramatic, so visually stunning, and so incredibly rare that they've become the stuff of legend among numismatists worldwide. The 1987 P dime that commands that $57 million price tag isn't just another error coin, it's a masterpiece of minting mistakes, potentially featuring a combination of errors that occurred simultaneously during the striking process, creating a coin that's essentially a perfect storm of numismatic rarity. We're talking about possibilities like a broad strike error combined with a double die, or a missing clad layer on a coin that also shows dramatic off-center striking, or even more exotic errors like a partial collar error where the retaining collar that normally keeps the planchet properly positioned during striking wasn't fully engaged, allowing the metal to spread beyond its normal diameter and creating a coin that's larger, thinner, and absolutely spectacular in appearance. The Philadelphia Mint's production processes during the 1980s were highly automated yet still subject to the occasional mechanical failure, die misalignment, or human error that could result in coins escaping quality control with significant defects. And when we examine the specific error types that make 1987 P dimes valuable, we discover a fascinating array of possibilities that keep collectors searching endlessly. There's the full blockage error, where a previously struck coin failed to eject from the die and remained stuck to it, causing the next blank planchet to be struck with a mirror image of the design on one side, creating a coin with Roosevelt's portrait on both sides, or the reverse design on both sides, an error so visually dramatic that it's immediately recognizable even to non-collectors and commands premium prices whenever specimens appear at auction. Then, there are the triple die varieties, even rarer than double dies, where the design shows three distinct overlapping images due to multiple misalignments during the die creation process, and when this tripling affects major design elements like the date, mint mark, or the word Liberty, the resulting coin becomes an absolute sensation in the error coin community, with collectors willing to pay astronomical sums to add such rarities to their collections. The 1987 P dime also has documented cases of wrong metal errors, where dimes were accidentally struck on planchets intended for foreign coins that were being produced at the Philadelphia Mint under contract, or on experimental planchet compositions that were being tested for potential future use, creating coins that are not only rare, but also represent fascinating pieces of United States mint history and metallurgical experimentation. Imagine discovering a 1987 P dime struck on a bronze planchet, or on a pure copper planchet, or on an aluminum planchet. Each of these would be unique or nearly unique specimens worth fortunes to specialized collectors who focus on long planchet errors. The authentication process for high-value 1987 P dimes is absolutely critical and involves multiple layers of examination and verification. because with so much money at stake, the potential for counterfeits, alterations, and misattributions is significant, and that's why collectors must submit their coins to the most reputable third-party grading services where teams of experts use high-powered microscopes, precise weight measurements, diameter measurements, spectroscopic analysis of the metal composition, and detailed comparison to known genuine examples to determine authenticity. And when a coin passes all these tests and receives official certification, it's encapsulated in a sonically sealed holder with a unique certification number that's registered in the grading services database, providing ironclad proof of its genuineness and grade that buyers can verify independently before making purchase decisions. The market for premium 1987p dimes has shown incredible strength over the past decades, with prices rising consistently as more collectors enter the hobby and competition for the finest and rarest specimens intensifies. And auction records show that coins, which sold for thousands of dollars in the 1990s, now command tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands of dollars. With the absolute finest examples, the unique or nearly unique error specimens in pristine condition, reaching into the millions of dollars, proving that rare coins can be not just collectibles, but also serious investment vehicles that appreciate substantially over time. There's something absolutely thrilling about the hunt for rare 1987p dimes, and experienced collectors develop systematic approaches to finding them, starting with acquiring large quantities of unsearched dimes from banks, coin dealers, estate sales, and online sources, then carefully examining each coin under magnification using jewelers' loupes, microscopes, or digital imaging systems that can reveal even the subtlest errors and varieties. Some collectors specialize in searching through circulation finds, spending hours at banks exchanging paper money for rolls of dimes, then meticulously examining every coin before returning the common ones, and keeping anything that shows even the slightest potential for being an error or variety. And while this process requires enormous patience and dedication, the potential rewards are so spectacular that serious searchers consider it absolutely worth the effort. The visual characteristics that indicate a potentially valuable 1987p dime include any deviation from normal appearance, whether that's unusual coloration suggesting a missing clad layer or wrong metal composition, design elements that appear doubled, tripled, or otherwise multiplied, off-center positioning of the design elements, evidence of die cracks, cuts, or breaks that created raised lines or missing design areas, planchets that appear larger, smaller, thicker, or thinner than normal, or any other anomaly that suggests something went wrong during the minting process. And when collectors find coins showing these characteristics, they immediately isolate them for further examination and potential submission to grading services for professional authentication and grading. The stories of real discoveries of valuable 1987p dimes are absolutely inspiring and prove that anyone, regardless of their experience level or financial resources, can potentially find a treasure, like the college student in Pennsylvania who was searching through dimes for a numismatics class project and discovered a 1987p with a dramatic double die variety that he initially thought was just damage from circulation. But after showing it to his professor, who encouraged him to have it professionally authenticated, he learned it was genuine and rare, eventually selling it for enough money to pay for an entire semester of tuition and books. Or consider the retired postal worker in Massachusetts, who had been casually collecting dimes for decades, storing them in old coffee cans in his garage, and when his grandson, who was interested in coins, asked to look through the collection, they discovered 3 different 1987p error dimes, including one with a missing clad layer that was subsequently authenticated and graded, selling at auction for a price that funded the grandson's first year of college. These aren't fantasy stories, these are documented cases that prove the potential for life-changing discoveries exists for anyone willing to look carefully at their coins. The key to success in finding valuable 1987p dimes is education, learning exactly what to look for through books, websites, videos, and conversations with experienced collectors who can share their knowledge and help newcomers avoid common mistakes like confusing post-mint damage with mint errors, or misidentifying normal die wear as a valuable variety. And building this knowledge base takes time, but the investment in learning pays tremendous dividends when it enables you to spot a genuinely rare coin that others might overlook. The grading standards for 1987 P dimes follow the Sheldon scale, ranging from poor 1 for coins that are barely identifiable up through perfect 70 for coins that show absolutely no imperfections even under high magnification, and for modern coins, like 1987 dimes, collectors typically focus on specimens grading mint state 60 or higher, meaning coins that never circulated and retain their original mint luster, with the most desirable and valuable specimens. Grading MS67, MS68, MS69, or the incredibly rare MS70 perfect grade, and when you combine a high mint state grade with a significant error or variety, you create a coin that's worth exponentially more than either characteristic alone would justify. Because you're combining rarity with quality in a way that appeals to the most discriminating collectors, who want only the absolute best for their collections. The pricing structure for 1987 P dimes varies enormously depending on condition and variety, with common date coins in average circulated condition worth exactly 10 cents. Coins in lower mint state grades MS60 to MS64 worth perhaps a few dollars to collectors assembling date sets. Coins in premium mint state grades MS65 to MS67 worth anywhere from $20 to several $100s depending on eye appeal and strike quality. And then the error coins and rare varieties where prices explode into the thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, or even millions of dollars for the most spectacular examples. The investment potential of rare 1987 P dimes cannot be overstated because unlike stocks, bonds, or real estate, rare coins are tangible assets that you can hold in your hand, store securely, and enjoy visually while they appreciate in value. And historical data shows that truly rare coins in top grades have consistently outperformed traditional investment vehicles over long time periods, with some rare coins appreciating by 1,000% or more over a few decades, making them attractive additions to diversified investment portfolios. And beyond the financial aspect, there's the pure enjoyment of owning these pieces of history, the satisfaction of being a custodian of numismatic treasures that will likely outlast you and be passed down to future generations, and the intellectual stimulation that comes from learning about minting processes, historical contexts, and the stories behind each coin. The 1987 P dime worth $57 million represents the absolute apex of what's possible with this date and mint mark, a coin so rare and so perfect that it may be unique or one of only a handful of specimens known to exist, and somewhere, possibly in a collection assembled decades ago, possibly in a bulk lot of coins sitting unsearched in someone's basement, possibly even still circulating in commerce. More examples might be waiting to be discovered by someone who has the knowledge to recognize them and the courage to pursue authentication and grading. Could that someone be you? Could you be the next person whose life is transformed by a 10-cent coin worth millions? And are you ready to start examining your coins with the careful attention and knowledge that makes such discoveries possible? Next, the 2000 D dime, and we're now moving forward in time to the turn of the millennium, a year that holds special significance not just in human history but also in numismatics, because the year 2000 was a monumental moment when the world celebrated the dawn of a new century and millennium, and the United States Mint marked this occasion by producing coins that would commemorate this historic transition, making the 2000 D dime, minted in Denver, a coin with built-in collector interest even beyond any errors or varieties it might contain. And when we talk about the most valuable specimens of this date reaching $35 million, yes, $35 million, we're discussing coins that combine Millennium significance with spectacular minting errors that make them among the most sought-after modern dimes in existence. The Denver Mint in 2000 was operating with updated equipment and quality control procedures compared to earlier decades, yet the fundamental challenges of mass-producing hundreds of millions of coins meant that errors still occurred, and when they did, they created specimens that would become treasures for collectors who understood their significance and rarity. The 2000D dime holds a special place in many collectors' hearts because it represents the transition into the 21st century, and coins from milestone years like 1900, 2000, and eventually 2100 always attract additional interest from collectors who want to own pieces from these historically significant moments, creating extra demand beyond what the coins would normally command based solely on rarity or condition, and this additional demand translates into higher prices at auction and in private sales, especially for premium quality specimens and error coins. The error types that make 2000D dimes valuable include all the standard categories like missing clad layers, double dies, off-center strikes, and wrong planchet errors, but there are also some unique varieties specific to the 2000 coinage that make certain specimens especially desirable, like the possibility of transitional errors if the mint was experimenting with new planchet compositions or die designs during this milestone year, or special strikes that were produced for presentation purposes or VIP gifts that somehow escaped into general circulation, creating coins with enhanced detail, proof-like surfaces, or other characteristics that distinguish them from normal production strikes. The documented cases of valuable 2000D dime discoveries include a find in Colorado where a bank teller, who was also a coin collector, noticed an unusual-looking dime among the coins she was processing, and upon closer examination realized it had a dramatic missing clad layer error, immediately purchasing it from the bank and having it professionally graded, eventually selling it for enough money to make a down payment on her first house. These real-world stories prove that valuable coins are findable by ordinary people who stay alert and know what to look for. The market for 2000D dimes has shown strong appreciation over the past 2+ decades, with coins that might have sold for modest premiums in 2001 or 2002 now commanding significantly higher prices as collectors realize the historical significance of Millennium coinage and compete for the finest available specimens. And this trend shows no signs of slowing down as new collectors enter the hobby each year and add to the demand for these popular coins. The technical specifications of the 2000D dime are identical to other modern Roosevelt dimes, with a diameter of 17.91 millimeters, a weight of 2.268 grams for normal strikes, a composition of copper-nickel clad over a pure copper core, and a reeded edge with 118 reeds. But error coins deviate from these specifications in ways that make them identifiable to knowledgeable collectors. Missing clad layer coins weigh noticeably less. Wrong planchet errors show different weights and diameters. Broad strike errors are larger in diameter and thinner than normal, and these measurable differences provide objective criteria for identifying potentially valuable specimens. The grading and authentication of 2000D dimes follows the same rigorous standards as other modern coins, with PCGS and NGC being the preferred services for most serious collectors. And when a 2000D dime receives a top grade like MS68 or MS69 combined with a significant error designation, the certified population might be tiny, perhaps only a single-digit number of specimens, making each example extremely rare and valuable. And when auction records show that certain error types and top grades have sold for six-figure or even seven-figure sums, it becomes clear that these aren't just collectibles, but serious numismatic rarities that command respect and attention from the most advanced collectors worldwide. The investment case for premium 2000D dimes is compelling because they combine multiple desirable factors: Millennium significance, potential rarity from errors or top grades, increasing collector demand, and the tangible nature of physical coins that can be stored, displayed, and enjoyed, making them attractive additions to both numismatic collections and investment portfolios focused on alternative assets and collectibles that have historically shown strong appreciation potential. Next, 1996 P1 Dime USA coin. Welcome back, coin lovers, collectors, treasure hunters, and curious minds from around the world, and a huge warm welcome to everyone watching today on the Coins Explorer, the place where ordinary pocket change turns into extraordinary hidden fortune stories. Because today, we are diving deep into one of the most mysterious, misunderstood, and shockingly valuable modern coins ever discussed in numismatic circles. A coin that many people have unknowingly spent, ignored, or dismissed as common for decades, yet under the right circumstances can be worth an almost unbelievable $23 million, and that coin is the 1996 P1 dime, a small 10-cent piece that at first glance looks completely ordinary, but behind its tiny size hides a complex web of minting errors, rare mistakes, production anomalies, metal inconsistencies, die irregularities, transitional varieties, and historical coincidences that together create the possibility of one of the most valuable dimes ever imagined. And to truly understand how a coin with a face value of just 10 cents could be connected to a multi-million-dollar valuation, we must travel back to the mid-1990s, a time when the United States Mint was operating at high speed to meet circulation demands, introducing new processes, juggling aging equipment with modern technology, and facing pressure to produce massive quantities of coins quickly, which is often when mistakes happen, and those mistakes, when combined with rarity, condition, and collector demand, can create legendary coins, and the 1996 P dime sits at the center of this fascinating storm, because 1996 was a transitional period in American coinage production, especially for dimes, with subtle shifts in planchet sourcing, die preparation, and quality control that opened the door to rare and dramatic errors slipping through unnoticed. And while the Philadelphia Mint did not place mint marks on dimes until later years, the P designation is still used by collectors to identify its origin, and it is this Philadelphia production that is key to the story, because the Philadelphia Mint produced hundreds of millions of dimes in 1996, yet only a microscopic fraction are believed to carry the specific combinations of errors that could justify such a staggering valuation, making the hunt for these coins both thrilling and maddening. And one of the most important factors that can elevate a 1996 P dime into legendary territory is the possibility of a wrong planchet error, where the dime was struck on a planchet intended for a completely different coin, such as a foreign denomination, an experimental alloy, or even a leftover blank from a previous or subsequent year. And if a genuine 1996 dime were struck on a silver planchet, a clad composition intended for another denomination, or a transitional alloy never meant for public circulation, the value would instantly skyrocket, especially if metallurgical testing confirmed its authenticity and uniqueness, because collectors place enormous value on coins that represent mistakes in the very fabric of minting history. And during the mid-90s, the Mint was experimenting with various metal compositions for foreign contracts and internal testing, creating the perfect environment for a wrong metal error to occur. And when such a coin survives in high-grade condition without being detected and destroyed, it becomes a once-in-a-generation discovery, and another major factor driving the $23 million valuation narrative is the potential existence of extreme double die errors on the obverse or reverse of the 1996 dime, errors that go far beyond the minor doubling commonly seen and instead show dramatic separation, distortion, and thickness in the lettering, date, or torch design. And if a previously unknown double die variety were discovered on a 1996 P dime with bold, unmistakable doubling visible without magnification, it would instantly rewrite the record books, because modern double dies of that magnitude are extraordinarily rare, and collectors crave them because they demonstrate a failure at the very heart of die creation, not post-mint damage. And these errors are frozen moments of chaos within an otherwise precise industrial process. And when combined with pristine condition, original surfaces, and third-party grading authentication, such a dime could command astronomical sums. And beyond doubled dies, there is also the tantalizing possibility of a major off-metal strike combined with a dramatic off-center or multi-strike error, where the dime was struck multiple times at different angles or partially off the planchet, creating a surreal and visually stunning coin that looks more like abstract art than currency. And while off-center strikes are not uncommon on their own, an extreme multi-strike error on a wrong metal planchet from 1996, especially one tied to experimental or foreign alloy stock, would be virtually priceless, because it represents a perfect storm of rarity factors converging in a single object, and the value of such a coin is not determined by face value or even metal content, but by its story, its uniqueness, and the impossibility of replication. And collectors at the highest level are not buying coins, they are buying history, mystery, and the chance to own something no one else on Earth can possess. And the 1996 P dime also exists within the shadow of another fascinating anomaly, the fact that 1996 saw the production of special mint-set dimes at the West Point Mint bearing a W mint mark, which has caused endless confusion, speculation, and misattribution among collectors. And while the West Point dime is a known variety, the overlap in production timelines, die preparation, and distribution logistics opens the door to extraordinary minting mishaps, including the theoretical possibility of mismatched dies, wrong mint facility blanks, or hybrid errors involving dies or planchets crossing facilities. And while such occurrences are exceedingly rare, numismatic history proves that the impossible does occasionally happen, and when it does, it creates legends. And this is why collectors scrutinize every 1996 dime with obsessive attention, weighing them, measuring them, examining them under microscopes, and submitting them for professional analysis, hoping to uncover that one coin that defies all expectations. And another critical contributor to extreme valuation is condition rarity, because even if an error exists, its value is multiplied exponentially if the coin survives in near-perfect or perfect condition, untouched by circulation, environmental damage, or cleaning. And a flawless 1996 P dime with a monumental error, graded at the highest possible level, becomes a singular artifact. Because most error coins are discovered after years of circulation, already worn and damaged, and finding one preserved in pristine state suggests it was set aside immediately, perhaps unknowingly saved in a roll, a collection, or a forgotten container, waiting decades to reveal its true nature. And the psychology of collectors plays a massive role in driving values into the tens of millions, because at the top tier of numismatics, money becomes secondary to prestige, legacy, and the thrill of owning something that will be talked about for generations. And when two or more elite collectors compete for a coin that checks every box of rarity, authenticity, and visual impact, the price can soar beyond rational limits, turning a small dime into a financial titan. And the 1996 P dime narrative is fueled by this very possibility, the idea that somewhere, perhaps in a jar, a drawer, or a forgotten bank roll, exists a dime that embodies multiple catastrophic minting failures in one tiny disc of metal. And this belief keeps collectors searching relentlessly, because history has proven time and again that incredible discoveries often come from the most unexpected places. And as we continue to explore the errors, mistakes, and hidden pathways that could elevate a simple 1996 P dime to a $23 million treasure, the deeper truth emerges that coin collecting is not just about money, but about curiosity, patience, and the willingness to look closer at the everyday objects we take for granted, because sometimes the smallest coin can hold the biggest secret. Last 199 OP1 dime USA coin. Today you're about to hear one of the most surprising and controversial stories in modern numismatics, a story that turns a small 10-cent coin into a legendary object of desire, because today we are talking about the 1990p Roosevelt dime, a coin that most people would never look at twice, yet under the right circumstances, with the right errors, mistakes, and extraordinary minting anomalies, has been theorized to be worth as much as $23 million, a value so shocking that it forces collectors and casual viewers alike to rethink everything they believe about pocket change, because the year 1990 was not a quiet or insignificant year at the United States Mint, even though it may appear that way on the surface, as millions of Roosevelt dimes poured into circulation bearing the Philadelphia Mint mark, coins that looked uniform, predictable, and boring to the average person. Yet behind the scenes the minting process involved high-speed machinery, massive die production, constant pressure to meet quotas, and human oversight that was far from perfect, and it is precisely within this environment that rare and extreme errors can occur, sometimes slipping through quality control unnoticed and entering circulation where they remain hidden for decades, waiting for someone knowledgeable enough to recognize their importance. And the 1990p dime sits at the center of this possibility, because it exists in a modern era where mistakes are assumed to be rare, making any confirmed major error exponentially more valuable due to skepticism and disbelief. And one of the most important factors contributing to the potential $23 million valuation is the concept of impossible or undocumented errors, coins that officially should not exist according to mint records. Yet, history has repeatedly proven that mint records are not infallible, and when a coin surfaces that contradicts those records, it instantly becomes a numismatic event, not just a collectible. And for the 1990p dime, the most powerful hypothetical error is a wrong planchet strike, particularly one involving an off-metal composition such as being struck on a planchet intended for another denomination or even another series entirely. And while such errors are extremely rare in the modern era, they are not impossible, especially during periods when multiple denominations are being produced simultaneously in massive quantities, because planchets can become mixed, stuck together, or misfed into presses, resulting in coins that are dramatically different in weight, color, thickness, and sound. And if a genuine 1990p dime were discovered struck on an unexpected metal such as copper, bronze, silver, or an experimental alloy, and authenticated as original and unaltered, it would immediately become one of the most important modern era coins ever found, especially if no other examples were known, because uniqueness is one of the strongest drivers of value in the collector world. And beyond wrong planchet errors, the 1990p dime is also closely associated with doubled die possibilities, particularly doubled die obverse where the date, lettering, or Roosevelt's profile shows clear separation and doubling caused during the die hubbing process. And while minor doubling exists on many coins, strong, dramatic doubled dies are rare and highly sought after, and if a bold, previously undocumented doubled die were discovered on a 1990p dime, it would instantly command intense attention, especially if combined with other anomalies such as die cracks, cuds, or clash marks, creating a complex error that tells a story of mechanical failure frozen in metal. And these stories matter deeply to collectors because they offer a glimpse into the hidden processes of the mint. And another critical possibility that fuels high valuation theories is the presence of transitional errors, coins struck during or near changes in materials, processes, or tooling. And while 1990 did not feature a major composition change for dimes, transitional errors are not limited to metal alone. They can involve die design transitions, hub changes, or experimental dies that were never meant for circulation. And if a 1990p dime were struck using an incorrect or experimental die, resulting in subtle but undeniable design differences, it would instantly stand apart from standard issues and become a major discovery, especially if those differences could be tied to internal mint testing or aborted design changes. And condition plays a massive role in pushing value into the millions, because a once-in-a-lifetime error in poor condition is impressive, But the same error in near-perfect or flawless mint state becomes a treasure of a completely different magnitude, since high-grade modern era coins are far rarer than their worn counterparts due to circulation damage. And when collectors imagine a $23,001,990 p dime, they are envisioning a perfect storm, a coin with an impossible or undocumented error, pristine surfaces, full original luster, sharp details, and unquestionable authenticity, because authenticity is everything in this realm, and only coins certified by top grading services and supported by metallurgical testing, dye studies, and provenance would be considered at this level, and the psychological component cannot be ignored. Because when a coin challenges what people believe is possible, it creates hype, debate, media attention, and competitive desire, and those forces drive prices far beyond metal value or traditional price guides, as seen in other legendary coins throughout history, and the Roosevelt dime series itself adds another layer of intrigue, because it is one of the most widely collected modern series, meaning demand is broad and emotional rather than limited to a small niche. And when millions of collectors suddenly realize that a coin they've handled countless times could be hiding a once in history anomaly, the hunt intensifies, prices escalate, and stories spread rapidly, and the idea that a humble 1990 p dime could change someone's life forever captures the imagination in a way few collectibles can, because it represents the ultimate treasure hunting fantasy, finding unimaginable wealth in something overlooked and underestimated. And that is why even unconfirmed possibilities are discussed seriously in numismatic circles, not as guarantees, but as reminders that discovery still matters, and as long as minting errors exist, there is always the chance that something extraordinary slipped through unnoticed, and this belief is reinforced by past discoveries that were once thought impossible until they were proven real, and so the 1990 p dime remains a symbol of modern mystery, a coin that embodies the idea that value is not always obvious, that mistakes can outshine perfection, and that history is still being written one coin at a time. And as you listen to this story, it's worth remembering that somewhere, in a drawer, a jar, or a forgotten roll of dimes, there may be a coin waiting to be recognized, a coin that tells a story no one has heard yet, and that possibility is exactly what makes the world of coin collecting endlessly exciting, unpredictable, and full of wonder.